Welcome to Whips in the Dungeon 101.23. Today we're going to talk about Parachord whips. When I came into the lifestyle 20 years ago, the only whips were made out of kangaroo. Parachord in the last decade has become more common, and in fact I'd say almost everybody that owns a whip at least owns one Parachord whip, and many people start with their first whip being a Parachord whip. So today we're going to look at the difference between a good Parachord whip and a not so good Parachord whip. And maybe I'm old school or just a Leatherman, but no Parachord whip is going to compare with a well-made quality kangaroo whip. But I'm going to apply the same standards of quality to a Parachord whip that I do a kangaroo whip. So let's review what makes a good kangaroo whip. The first test is to look at the plaiting. I want to look at the thong and see that herringbone or whipmaker's plaiting straight as an arrow all the way down to the keeper, not with no twists in it, straight as an arrow. The next test is I want to just watch it roll out. I want it to roll out straight and end where I point it. The next test is close my eyes and run it down the continuously tapering cylinder of the thong, and it should be smooth as a baby's butt. I shouldn't be able to feel any transitions. I might be able to look and see a transition, but I shouldn't be able to feel it. Then the third test is take about every 18 inches of the whip and roll it around itself and look for kinks and transitions. You want it to roll around itself and keep that arc, ideally a perfect arc, and then move down to the next 18 inches and repeat the same thing. You want it to maintain that arc. The fourth test, a whip has a belly and the opposite side is called the spine. I want to roll this whip against its spine and make sure that it falls straight. Okay, so now let's look real quickly at some kangaroo whips. That first check, I wanted to see if that herringbone plait was straight, and if you look at this, you're going to see that this overlay spirals. It spirals almost one complete turn between the top of the thong and the keeper. So I don't like that. Then I'm going to check the rollout. Kind of rolls halfway down and hesitates, but when you can get it to roll out, it does roll straight even though the overlay is crooked. So that's good. This check, and roll it around itself. Okay, it lost its arc there, but it's not horrible, I guess. The next check, it didn't even start with an arc really. But you can see it's not maintaining its arc that well. One of the things about a paracord snake that I've found is I haven't found a paracord snake that I was happy with the handle section. It's overly flexible. This one I haven't had very long. I don't throw it very often, and already it's loosey-goosey more than I would like in a dungeon whip. Now if I look at the comparable sister whip, this is the bull whip that came with that. If we look at this overlay, again, this overlay has a twist in it. It's not straight. Regardless of its twist, it's going to roll out fairly straight. That's not bad. The advantage of a bull whip, paracord bull whip, is I think the stiffness of the handle helps with the upper part of the thong. I'm more impressed with paracord bull whips than I am paracord snake whips. If we do the roll around test, it's not maintaining its arc as I roll it around itself. Okay, not really maintaining its arc. If I throw it against its belly, it rolls pretty straight. So even with its flaws, it seems to roll out pretty straight. But I hold that standard to paracord platters because here's an example of a paracord platter that has been able to keep the overlay fairly straight. It's not perfect, but it's a much better example of a paracord whip than the two I just showed you. The rollout, straight, it's a good sign. See it roll around on itself. It's not able to maintain its arc coming out of the thong. The lower half does pretty good. It's got a transition over here. Okay, rolling it against its spine, it rolls straight. Okay, so one of the problems with paracord whips is paracord whips are very inexpensive. You can buy a pretty decent snake or bull whip for a little over $100. The same length of plaiting in a kangaroo whip would be 3 times that much, but there's that old saying, you get what you pay for. A lot of paracord platters are weekend warriors, or they're doing it part-time. There are some good paracord platters out there, but I'm just going to say buyer beware. My recommendation for paracord is if you're at a vending show or you're at some a dungeon that sells toys and it's hanging on the wall, you can pull it off the wall, you can check those 3 tests or 4 tests I gave you, and you can see what the quality of the whip is that you're buying. Then by all means invest in a paracord whip. It's a nice inexpensive investment. But if you haven't had a chance to look at the whip and test the whip out, then I worry that you would be wasting your money. It'd be better to save your pennies and get a good kangaroo whip. Today's key word is wrist loop.